Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Random Vlogging! Um, I'm going to start off this video by saying I have a massive, massive migraine right now. So I cannot tell you how coherent this video is going to be. However, I saw something today that I have to comment on, just for the most part, just because of how screwed up this has the possibility of becoming. Um, and as a warning to all of you out there, I am going to talk about specific subjects and a specific person that I vehemently despise. I think she is a horrible person and human being in general, and has done everything she can to use an actual, real issue to elevate herself to a status that she does not deserve. Um, and the person I'm talking about in question is Anita Sarkeesian. For those of you who have no idea who this person is and has apparently been living under a rock for like 3 years now, I think is when she first started getting big. Anita Sarkeesian came to internet fame when she started a Kickstarter for a video series called Tropes versus Women in Video Games. The thought process behind the series is actually pretty ingenious, to be honest. And had it been done by quite literally anyone else in the world, I think it could have been an amazing positive force for good. Unfortunately, Ms. Sarkeesian has a really large issue with, stupid things like facts and truth and things like that, and the idea of collecting relevant data and supporting her opinions with fact as opposed to um, supporting facts with her opinion. Um, Again, a lot of people, like if you look at the reviews and things like that, a lot of feminist writers and things like that claim that she was doing this amazing, wonderful thing, that it was groundbreaking in the world of feminist studies, specifically in its relation to video games and things like that. It wasn't. It quite literally wasn't. When it first came out, I watched, I think it was the first 2 episodes, because I'm like, this is really cool. I love this topic. I think it's a topic that needs to be discussed. And what I found was, for anyone that has had any sort of experience in critical thinking in general, it's almost unwatchable, because she makes a lot of very obvious mistakes in relation to critical thinking. She will make statements that are backed up by nothing but opinion, and then assume those statements are true and go on to use them to support other opinions. And because of this, a lot of what she does looks like she's done this massive amount of research, and that it's very well. It's a very educational thing. When in all actuality, it's not. One of the oh man, like I said, I've got this massive headache and I cannot think right now. But I want to get this video out. One of the things that she does often is oh wow, I just completely lost my train of thought. Anyway, so it's really poorly done. She cherry picks a lot of her data. Cherry picking is basically looking at a wide range of data and then picking the data points that support your argument while throwing away everything else. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. She also uses what's called the false causality falsehood. It's a logical falsehood where you see two things that have that are connected in some way, and I can't remember what the term is. And you make the jump to correlation. There we go. The phrase is correlation doesn't prove causation. And what that is basically In science, it's actually very, very difficult to prove causation, prove that one thing is directly affected by another, simply because there are so many other variables in general that we can't control in large form experiments, especially when you start talking about psychology and things like that, which is technically a soft science anyways. And so what happens is when people make the false causation fallacy, what they will do is they will see two things that are correlated, meaning there is something that connects them that means as one changes, the other one changes as well. And they will say, well, obviously these things are connected. That means this thing causes this, which is untrue a lot of the time. There's a brilliant website that I can't even remember what it's called, but it basically shows causation or correlation between completely unrelated things. And generally what happens when you see correlation like that is there is technically something that relates them. Things like my favorite argument for that kind of shows off what the false causation fallacy is the temperature of the Earth has been going up pretty steadily, or not steadily, measurably in the past. I think it's like 30 or 40 years. They've been able to show the average temperature of the Earth raising. Not by like a massive, not like 10 or 15 degrees. I think, if I remember correctly, we're only talking about a few degrees. But on a global scale, that's massive. That's where the idea of global warming comes from and everything like that, because that is an actual fact. The statement kind of goes like this. Back in the golden age of piracy, pirates were everywhere. There was a massive, massive population of pirates. Now, in the 21st century, the population of pirates is very, very low. Also, the temperature of the Earth has risen. Therefore, pirates are cool, and they were keeping the temperature of the Earth lower. Those two things are completely unrelated. The fact that there are less pirates in the world has everything to do with modernization and better protection for shipping in general. The fact that shipping has turned into an air service rather than a sea service in general, and so it's just not as popular. Like, those are the reasons that pirates are lower. And the causes for global warming are still debated in a bunch of scientific circles. And to be blunt, even people that are staunch believer in the idea of global warming cannot actually pinpoint the exact cause. We just know that the temperature is raising. We have a bunch of different theories that show correlation pretty well, but no one has been able to prove causation. Despite what a lot of media sources will tell you. We're still, global scale and stuff like that is still very, very confusing for everybody. But it's something that we're trying to fix. And so that's a cool thing. So that's the false causation fallacy. And Sarkeesian uses this often. She will make unsupported statements claiming that, well, this encourages this and this and this, and this encourages violence against women, without actually supporting it with any facts. And the facts that she does show, in general, will show like a correlation, but she's never able to prove causation, mostly because she doesn't actually understand the idea behind proving causation. So the reason I'm talking about this, and the reason that I despise this woman so much, I have a large problem with people that lie. The first girl I dated was a pathological liar and almost ruined my life, ended a bunch of friendships for me. I have a massive problem with people that lie and manipulate the truth to their own ends, and that is 100% what she does. However, she has announced that she's going to be starting a new Kickstarter for a new video project that she wants to make, entitled, what's it called again? It's Ordinary Women in History Daring to Defy History. And it's basically a profile of a bunch of women in history that did amazing things. The things that she lists on here that she's going to be studying are, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to mispronounce this name, Murasaki Shikibu, who is a Japanese author, Emma Goldman, who was a mathematician, and a lot of people consider her the first computer programmer, which is actually really, really cool. Ching Sin, or Ching Si, I think. Again, she was a Chinese pirate, I believe during the golden age of piracy. And she wasn't just a pirate. You can very effectively describe her as a pirate queen. At one point, she apparently commanded somewhere between 20,000 and 40,000 pirates were under her command. That's bonkers. Like, that is just crazy awesome. And then Ada Lovelace, who I can't actually remember what she did, but she did something, and I believe she was English. What did Ada Lovelace do? Oh, wait, no. Ada Lovelace was the mathematician and the first computer programmer. Oh, damn it. Then who was Emma Goldman? Like I said, guys, my head is not working right now. What did Emma Goldman do? She was an anarchist. She actually supported the Bolshevik Revolution, then realized what a massive, massive fuck up that was. She promoted anarchy around the world, to be 100% honest. She was an anarchist. Lovelace was a mathematician and writer who was super, super cool. And then Ida B. Wells, who was a member of, she was a civil rights activist, very effective one at that. These are awesome women. They really, really are. Probably the one that I am most excited to hear about is the Chinese Pirate Queen. Is just so freaking cool. Like, how can you not be excited to hear about, like, a pirate king, queen, ruler, anything is cool. I like pirates. I think they're really interesting. And I like the golden age of piracy. I like that time period. I think it's a really cool, interesting period when, people were exploring the world and they were doing amazing, just phenomenal things, and they were going to brand new worlds, basically, by traveling the Atlantic Ocean and going to the Americas and stuff like that. Like, it was an amazing time to be alive if you were an explorer, because they were constantly discovering new things. So I love that entire period in history. I think it's amazing. And the idea that, first of all, I had no idea that this woman existed. And mostly because my focuses on piracy have been piracy in the what is it called? In the Bahamas and that area. And that's where you get things like Captain Kidd and Blackbeard and all that. Like, that was all in that area. The Pirates of the Caribbean series is set in that area. That's my focus on piracy. I really wasn't that into the Eastern piracy that happened. So I had no idea this woman existed. And as I read more about her, I'm like, holy shit, that's so cool. So I think this could be one of the coolest video series that comes out. That's come out in the last, like, 5 years. Talking about, like I said, really strong, influential women. Most of them I hadn't heard of until I started looking them up and realizing, like, Murasaki Shikibu is considered by quite a few people to have written. She wrote a novel called something about Genji, but it's considered by a lot of people to be the first modern novel. And it's considered a classic book in Chinese, or not Chinese, in Japanese literature. Like, it's a really big deal. And I'd never heard of her before, and I'd never heard of the story of Genji either. After reading a little bit about it, it probably wouldn't have been for me, because it's a lot of politics and there's some romance in there. But who knows? It may be that's another book that I sincerely enjoy. I may try and read it sometime. But again, this is a massively influential book written by an incredible woman. So I'm super excited about this. I just wish anybody else in the world other than Sarkeesian was going to create it, for a number of reasons. Again, first, facts really don't matter to Sarkeesian in as far as anything that doesn't support what she wants to say with it, she's going to throw out and ignore. And if you bring those up, she's actually very famous for any of her critics she categorizes as misogynists, as like she will instantly, if anyone criticizes her work, she will instantly attack them and claim that they're these horrible, disgusting people who are trying to oppress women, which they're not. They're trying to critique something that is massively flawed. If she were to find out about this video, she would probably crucify me, because that's what she does. And at one level, if you're doing something like that, that kind of tips your hand to the idea that she realizes what she's doing is wrong. If she actually thought what she was doing was statistically sound, when people started criticizing her work, her first response would be, well, no, this is the data that I used, and this is what it is. And when they bring up the fact that she's using logical fallacies and stuff like that, she would go, shit, I need to redo my stuff. She doesn't. She attacks them openly and discredits anyone that tries to critique her, because she knows what she did is basically worthless. And as much as it has brought to light a lot of things, to be blunt, she's probably done more damage to feminism in general than she's helped it. Because she's such an easy thing to bring up whenever anyone starts talking about anything. It's like, well, you're just another Sarkeesian. You know, the feminist movement in general, this is not a true statement, by the way. This is not a true statement. However, someone could say, well, the feminist movement are all like Sarkeesian. They make up facts, they make up opinions, support them with cherry-picked facts, and use it to further their own agenda. And it's true in how it relates to Sarkeesian, because that's exactly what she does. It's not true as far as the feminist movement as a whole. So yeah, I'm really upset about the fact that what could be something super, super amazing, if you look at what she's done already, is probably going to be used to further her own agenda. She's going to mutate a lot of these stories into things that she can use to prove a lot of the points that she wants to be true, whether or not they're true. The other thing that kind of worries me, so Feminist Frequency, which is the company that she started, where did you go? There it is. Her initial goal for her Kickstarter campaign to make her tropes versus women in video games was supposed to be $6,000 to make a 5-video series. And on the Kickstarter page, she actually listed everything that she was supposed to do. The 5 videos were going to be the damsel in distress trope, the fighting fuck toy, the sexy sidekick, the sexy villainess, and background decoration were supposed to be the 5 videos that she made. Then she started making all these stretch goals, where she would talk about even more things. The voodoo priestess / tribal sorceress, women as a reward, Mrs. Male character, unattractive equals evil, man with boobs, and positive female characters. And after she made a 3rd set of stretch goals, she was going to make, she has 11 videos so far, she's going to make a 12th video, the top 10 most common defenses of sexism in games. The total she raised for this project, because again, this could have been something amazing. It doesn't surprise me she raised this much money, was $158,922 on a budget of $6,000. This was done back in, what was it, 2000? Wow, it had to be actually back before, it had to be before August of 2012. Because that's when most of these pledges were supposed to be on. So we're talking about at least 3.5 to 4 years ago. So in almost 4 years, do you know how many videos she's made out of the ones that she said she was going to make and got paid almost $160,000 to make? The damsel in distress was separated into 3 videos. So that one video turned into 3. Okay. It's a little bit meatier topic than she thought. Okay, that's fine. Fighting fuck toy doesn't exist. The sexy sidekick doesn't exist. The sexy villainess doesn't exist. Background decorations, I actually have to look. Women as background decorations does exist. And that turned into 2 different videos. Again, very possible. It's just did not realize how big a topic is this is going to be. So okay, that's fine. Let's see, the positive female characters that was supposed to be just one video turned into, let's see, one, two. It actually only turned into two characters, the Scythian and Jade. With the 2-1. So she actually did do that, one of the stretch goals. Before the 3 of the 5 original videos were done, she actually went all the way to her stretch goals. Okay, fine. We go to the stretch goals. Voodoo Priestess / Tribal Sorceress doesn't exist. Women as a Reward does exist. Not only does that one exist, but it also, she made a mini video that I haven't watched, but it's on the same subject. So that technically turned into like a video and a half. Okay, cool. Mrs. Male Character does exist. Unattractive equals equal. No. Man with boobs. No. Like I said, we already talked about positive female characters. And then video number 12, the top 10 most common defenses of sexism in games, doesn't exist. We're talking about almost 4 years later, with $160,000, she has not made half of the videos she pledged to make. And the ones that she did make were horrendously poorly researched. The quality is actually very, very good. Like or hate or whatever, the quality is phenomenal. Which it should be with $160,000. I mean, like, the entire thing was just absolutely horrendous and horrible. And it's the fact that everyone was like, oh, this was a resounding success. No, she lied to her backers completely. Nerdcube, she released Feminist Frequency is now a company. If I remember correctly, it's a nonprofit company that she runs. She released her earnings report. In the year 2014, Nerdcube made something hilarious. In the year 2014, I think she made like 5 videos or 6 videos, something like that. An entire year, she made 6 videos. When you look at professional YouTubers and just the massive amount of content that they make, that is abysmal. There are YouTubers that make 5 videos a week with the same production quality and research that she does. So it's absolutely abysmal how much she's abused this money. She's just constantly doing all these just incredibly horrible things. And now she's going to be, again, taking another topic that needs to be made. Like, this is going to be an awesome idea. And she's going to completely butcher it. She's probably not going to get through. She may get through like 2 of the 5 women that she claimed. And she's asking for $200,000 to do it, which is another thing I find humorous. She asked for $6,000 before. She got almost 160. Again, it was 158.9. So yeah, literally about $1,000 shy of $160,000, which is insane. And she makes a shit ton of money as well off of public appearances, off of speaking tours and stuff like that. Like, she is doing very, very well. Now she's going back to Kickstarter to ask for even more money to probably do the exact same thing she did last time, if you know, her previous record is to be held, which is take a lot of people's money, promise them something, and never deliver. This is horrible. I wish anybody else in the world was doing this, because I think it would probably be something really, really cool. And the topic itself is something that interests me greatly. But when you have a person that their entire purpose behind it is to further their own agenda and make themselves famous for a subject that they actually don't know that much about, it turns into a giant fuckfest. And that really upsets me, because I think this would have been something amazing. So yeah, that's my little rant about how much I despise Sarkeesian. Again, I know there are a lot of people that support her. I think mostly because they don't actually realize how poorly done what she did is, and because they don't understand basic logical fallacies. Yeah. So not to insult the supporters of Sarkeesian, because I don't think these people are stupid or anything like that. But critical thinking in general, especially in this country, has been discouraged. And learning critical thinking skills is not something that everybody does anymore. And a large, very, very large majority of her supporters have very little critical thinking skills, or are specifically turning off their critical thinking skills when it relates to her, because it's unbelievably obvious how little support she has for the opinions that she throws at people, which is sad because a lot of the stuff that she talks about is real, and really should be looked at from a scientific perspective, from a sociological perspective, from a psychological perspective, and she doesn't do any of that. All she does is lie and misrepresent facts to further her own expertise. So anyway, that's my ranty video about something that really upsets me. If you have opinions on it, feel free to put them in the comments below. Yeah. Otherwise, that's all for me today. Tomorrow's my birthday. I'm going to have a very special video that I post on my birthday. So yeah. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.